baby mamas. That's why they got Pookies.
So women
Pookie
in
wouldn't be a
Charlotte,
daddy. Listen, Pookie wouldn't be a daddy if she wasn't giving him a chance. If y'all sit here and say she keep having a baby by Pookie, she is giving him a chance, right?
So let me also
Yeah.
say on this. Remember that I said I would let my doctor daughter date an owner operator truck driver. He is a self-made man with the ability to create his own business, and he has the ability to scale his salary past what she makes.
So what he's really saying is, I would let my daughter date a high value man. What percentage of guys are meet that standard that he just said and are single and are black? Facing that same problem again. There's not enough of these guys to go around. So then you start, you know what? Welcome back to Money, Marriage, and Media. Today we are right back with the Lapeef Experience. Above average women should not date average men. This should be interesting. Mainly because one of the things you guys hear me talk a lot about is the fact that relationships are about balance. So, in a sense, I get it, but something tells me that. Oh, we got a super chat here. Hold on. Why should above average women in terms of education, income, and social class date average men in terms of income, education, and social class? Okay, that's misleading, because if that's what we're going to talk, you know what? Let me hit the button.
Jump in and tackle this from a very different perspective, right? I don't think that above
Here's the problem, though. We don't value education and income and social class like women do. So it's not the same. As I was wondering where this was going, because relationships are about balance, but they're the measurement in the sexual marketplace is not the same between men and women as far as what's valuable. So education, income, and social class, those things are valuable to women. They're not as valuable to men. So I kind of want to see where this is going to go, because, yeah.
average women should date average men. I think that women have adjusted their standards to disqualify certain above average men with too much emphasis on social class. When we take a look at certain fields, certain degrees, what we qualify as education, we're only looking at formal education. We're only looking at the incomes of people who are white collar workers, right? I think that women have decided that social class has become so much more important to them than everything else, that all of these above average men are being pushed off to the side, even though they're equally yoked.
Alexander.
Oh, clearly that was a preview. But I'm gonna go ahead and say I actually agree with her. And in terms of income, you guys already know how I feel about income. It's a poor predictor of financial success. I mean, because the majority of people who make a lot of money are living paycheck to paycheck, which is no. We need to start using net worth.
They're $5. Why should that? Why should above average women in terms of education, income, and social class date average men in terms of income, education, and social class?
I think that's
You want to take a shot at that, TM? You want to answer that, or Marcus? You want to answer that?
What did you say?
Why
Why
should
should above
above average women in terms of education, income, and social
I'll
class
answer.
date average men?
Oh,
I'll answer.
that is actually we've solved this many times on this show, because it doesn't work the same between men and women. Men already, if men want, let's say men were going out and saying, I'm going to ascend to the highest heights I can. He makes multiple six figures. If he said, I want to find a woman that does the same as me, he would have a hard time finding that woman. A
But
woman
wait,
needs
the
to
question
understand.
was, why should she though? We're not talking
Yeah,
about
that's
him.
what.
Why should she?
You never let me make my point. I had to
Because you
set it up.
always bring it on the man. That wasn't the question.
I was
Okay,
literally
go ahead. Go ahead.
setting up the other side. Now I don't even know what the hell I was
Okay, go
supposed to
ahead,
say no
Mike.
more.
All right.
So for a woman, it does not work the same. Women, for some reason, someone told them that everything works the same. It does not. You have to realize that if you are a high earning, high class woman, then you literally have just reduced all your options in finding a man, because the man that makes that amount of money does not want you. He wants a woman that's going to prioritize him, not work.
In
So
short
why
So
is
answer,
that beneficial for her though?
so literally women are going to have to grapple with the idea that you find something else to be interested in a man that is equally yoked to you, because it's not money. It really isn't. When women say equally yoked and start talking about money, they're automatically wrong. So you can be somebody with a business that took off and you make multiple six figures, and there is a man who is doing something comparable, but he makes 75, 80,000, but he's literally in the higher percentage of earners of men
Oh yeah,
at his
that's
age
cool.
group.
Yeah, I
You
agree
see
with
what I'm
that.
saying? And but women need to understand that is how you match value of men. He's a good man. He wants children like I do, and all of those type of things. Women are trying to match men in terms of value with money, and they will fail every time.
So do
Shan,
you? Oh, go ahead, Marcus.
let me ask you this: if that same guy that's the average guy, what if you was extremely attracted to him? Would you date him then?
I think that women are. That's why they becoming baby mamas. That's why they got pookies.
So women
Pookie
that
wouldn't
shall
be a
be
daddy. Listen, Pookie wouldn't be a daddy if she wasn't giving him a chance. If y'all sit here and say she keep having a baby by Pookie, she is giving him a chance, right?
So let me also
Yeah.
say on this. Remember that I said I would let my doctor daughter date an owner operator truck driver. He is a self-made man with the ability to create his own business, and he has the ability to scale his salary past what she makes.
So what he's really saying is, I would let my daughter date a high value man. What percentage of guys are meet that standard that he just said and are single and are black? Facing the same problem again. There's not enough of these guys to go around. So then you start, you know what? Let me move on, because I don't want to. I don't. That's this is.
So that's what I call equally yoked. A person that can create resourcefulness, a resourceful man
That's
with
not
the
equally
ability to
yoked.
create, find jobs, and scale something. That's somebody who's equally yoked to.
That's not, because that relationship's not balanced. Again, if she's your doctor daughter, that means she's working 80 hours a week. Okay, well, who's taking care of the kids? Because he's out on the road and also working 80 hours a week to make that much money. So who's watching? Who's raising the kids? Who's doing the chores at home? Or is it, we make all this money, so we hire somebody. We hire a nanny, which is questionable, because what are your kids learning then? And then, we hire a maid, which, okay, I guess. But then what are the values that you're teaching your kids? Like, who's responsible? How are you teaching them to look after themselves? It's not like we can just wake up and see that accomplished. I think that I'm still under the idea that the best teachers are for children are the parents. So again, if the woman is working 80 hours a week and the man is working 80 hours a week, who's raising the children? Who's going to be a better parent than the actual parents? I don't know. That's why I don't think those are equally yoked. I think that if the woman is a higher earner, then she needs to look for a guy who is going to lead with self-discipline, integrity, morals, and ethics. And he makes an average income for the area, the state that they live in. Because again, her schedule's locked in, especially if she's a doctor. Like, you're on call. So, I mean, even if you get it down to, you work in private practice, that's still a lot of hours. So, while you're working, you can't have two breadwinners. It doesn't work. There are too many holes, and there are too many gaps in that family structure that need to be filled.
My doctor daughter.
I
Trucker, yeah.
So I wanted to jump in and tackle this from a very different perspective, right? I don't think that above average women should date average men. I think that women have adjusted their standards to disqualify certain above average men with too much emphasis on social class. When we take a look at certain fields, certain degrees, what we qualify as education, we're only looking at formal education. We're
Mhm.
only looking at the incomes of people who are white collar workers, right? I think that women have decided the social class has become so much more important to them than everything else, that all of these above average men are being pushed off to the side, even though they're equally yoked, right? I think women need to take a more realistic look at themselves about the definitions and the weight that they're putting on all of those things. I don't think that people are suggesting, you know, picking somebody that doesn't necessarily fit properly. I think it's more so there's a misalignment between what you're asking for and what you're reaching
Translation: relationships are about balance.
for.
Very
I
well said.
completely agree with both of you guys.
I agree with that.
Very well said.
I don't disagree. So
I don't disagree, but
I think the man that you agree, you just explained, Mike. I don't think we disagree with that. I don't even disagree with you. We're talking about the guy who doesn't do any of that. Like he's just, um, he's making a living at as he's okay with being the Walmart stock guy. Not that I know what stock guys get paid. Do they get paid? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I'm not talking about that guy.
Okay, gotcha.
And in fact, the issue is that no nobody actually expects a woman to do that. We're more so concerned because we're like, ma'am, what are you going to do?
Hmm.
Because you're not the heart's desire of a man who has the same job as you. You love that job and you
I
want.
beg to differ. I actually had a conversation, and I really wish I had one of those cameras where I can set up and have all the guys in a room.
Yeah.
And I do think that the guys that I did speak with, they did agree that usually when a woman is educated, it's the mouth, it's the attitude. They can do without the mouth and attitude.
Hmm.
But they all agreed that they did want somebody who was educated. They did
No,
want
no,
somebody who
we,
was
we don't
going.
we don't mean educated. We mean above average. So what I mean when I say above average, you usually find people. Only one person is supposed to live and breathe the job, right? So if we
exactly.
have a CEO of a hospital, he does not want to marry the CEO of another hospital. That woman, we already know, is going to prioritize just by history of what women are doing. Yes, in fact, most men are actually saying that's what they want, and time is proving them wrong. Because when a man marries a woman that deprioritizes him, he suffers. In fact, everybody suffers. He
Yeah.
doesn't like anything that she's doing. So not only does she not have time for him, then she pawns off the kids to an au pair, and then he realizes this is not the vision he had for his family at all. So even some of the men that say they want that, by the time they get into a marriage with that type of woman, because all they're thinking about is the power couple narrative that women created.
So when
Yeah, I agree. That's why I said that, the match for a woman who is, a career woman. I think there's nothing wrong with you being a career woman. I just think that a lot of times women don't know what the price is to be paid in order for you to have that, for you to have your career and get married and have a family. You're going to be the breadwinner because again, it's just like he said, there has to be balance in that marriage. This whole power couple thing, it's just it's not replicatable on mass. So, let's keep going.
I spoke, matter of fact, one of them is a CEO. Shout out to him. But the men I was talking to, I understand what you're saying. So let's take the CEO because I think he was the only one who stated differently, but he's a CEO. Most of these guys are not CEOs. They make great money. They may be
Hmm.
attorneys. I think they make in the high figure range, but not quite that high. Like
Hmm.
100 over 100,000, but not like we're not talking about 200, three hundred
Yeah.
thousand. Okay, so what they were saying is yes, they do want a strong woman, meaning she's strong because one of the guys he mentioned, we don't have the wealth that some of our other races have. So we're trying to build wealth for our kids. So we both need to build so that it can trickle and our kids can benefit from that. So yes, I do need her to be strong. I do need her to be educated. I just don't need her to have an attitude when she comes.
But those two go hand in hand, though. Women don't build careers without developing that persona. Whether they display it at home or not is debatable, because at a certain point, the more successful she is, the more likely she is to bring that stuff home. Because you just reach a point where you just can't turn it off anymore. You're always on, right? Now, again, you still trying to. She gave an example of an attorney. Okay, well, attorney can work 80 hours a week. Again, what's happening at home? I find it interesting when people always bring up the, we're gonna build wealth and all this other stuff. You do know that what most people don't realize is that the majority of millionaires in this country who are first generation, they were just average people who invested over a long period of time, and when they hit retirement age, they were millionaires. They didn't have like these extravagant jobs or these high paying salaries. They were just average people. So, but again, this is why I talk about the fact that we're putting marriage off for too long. Because if you start that at younger, you start, putting your financial game plan together as a family unit. If you start that earlier, then it gives you more time for error. When you start waiting and you're going to push marriage off until you're 40 and 50, now you're on the razor's edge. And you talking about trying to build wealth as generational wealth, and you're 50. That's no. You need to be concerned about yourself at that point. So that's a false narrative. And believe it or not, it's not something that I initially knew. I had to, like, when you work in financial services, you're constantly doing training, and that was one of the things that one of the scenarios that we got trained on is that because a lot of times people tell you, well, no, I'm okay, I got everything working for me, I got this and this, and they teach you to ask the 5 questions that will help people understand it. No, I know you say you're good, but once we go through these questions, you're going to understand where you really sit at. So, but leave a comment if you guys want me to cover like what those questions are, because it's pretty. We'll just leave it at that.
So they do want those things to build wealth, but they don't want the attitude that comes along.
And the where they go wrong, because you're absolutely right. I've heard dude after dude describe what they want as strong. You want an industrious woman. The fact that she has a mouth and that literally comes standard in other ethnic groups. Every man wants an industrious woman. The word that family is derived from actually means group of workers. Mm-hmm. Meaning everybody in the family is supposed to be a worker. If this was a farm and land and I'm the man and you're the woman and I have this wife, that wife, we are all working. Even the woman that stays home.
Right. She has responsibilities too. I think that it's only recently that we think about being a stay-at-home wife, and she's just a stay-at-home wife has responsibilities. I think that we've confused a lady of leisure with a stay-at-home wife. Because again, this is like I was talking about before, is when you're a stay-at-home wife, your responsibility is the household. That's just the way it works. And that, that includes, you got chores to do around the house. You're responsible for maintaining the children. So that if there are no children, then that house better be spotless because that's a lot of free time. But that's different than being a lady of leisure, which is like ultra rare. I mean, you're talking about that's probably 10, maybe 5% of women. And that's a whole nother conversation. But this is definitely a high level conversation, because we need to start having more conversations like this about how people fit together and how they can build relationships. Because again, this power couple thing, we're both the breadwinners. That doesn't work, because there are too many other things. There's more to raising a family than just going out and earning a bunch of money. So we got to move past it, but we're not going to be able to if we don't start breaking these things down. Guys, remember, and this is 100% a gender war talking point. That's why the gender war is dumb. But guys, great conversation. I'm gonna stay ghosted the next time. Peace.